I got their drip. I got their body. We got their guns. We got their dope. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Last week we did a press conference as a result of a grand jury indictment for first-degree murder because this team, these guys at the top, sold the drugs that killed a 65-year-old lady. I told you last week that we would be back and talk now about this wire intercept investigation that we all worked on together. And let me highlight the people that worked with us so you have an idea of the complexity and the need for cooperation in order to successfully do these investigations. We're joined today by Brannon Sheely, who's going to be speaking from FDLE. They're our partners and we work together every day. Central Florida HIDA is with us, Executive Director A.J. Collazo. Homeland Security Investigations not attending, but they participated. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, they participated. They're not here today. United States Postal Inspection Services, they're not here, but they participated. Auburndale Police Department, Lieutenant Austin Leal. The State Attorney's Office, obviously Nicora Orr, who is the one in the engine behind this T3 and the search warrants, because we have to have our prosecutors on board and reviewing and making sure we dot all the I's and we cross all the T's, and the core, it was remarkable. Brian Haas, our state attorney, is the very best. And because we all work so well together, you'll see the outcomes today. The medical examiner's office was very important in this investigation because in order to bring the first-degree murder charge that occurred as a result of this T3, we had to have their expertise in their work. And where would we be without the FBI? The Lakeland RA attending today is Special Agent Mike Glass and Brian Wilson. And very important to this entire process is our Chief of Police in the Barto Police Department, Chief Walker, because he'll give you more details, but this entire capital city crackdown occurred in Barto, and Capital City, by the way, that is the county seat of Barto. That's how we got Capital City. They said I had to explain that. I thought it was evident, at least it was to me. But the folks that I'm going to introduce you to and speak specifically about have been dealing drugs in Barto for years. You're going to hear me talk about they have been to prison before. And you're going to hear about me talk about different amounts and kinds of drugs. So as we begin, let's talk about our number one man. And our number one man, who should be here someplace, did I walk? I think I left him right here because he was our number one man, is Nathaniel Donald. He's known as Nate. This man is the kingpin of Barto, of the drug sales that occur. He's the tip of the spear or the head of the snake. He's not a pharmacist, but those under his command will make sure that you have marijuana, fentanyl, crack cocaine, MDMA, all kinds of pills to include oxycodone, hydrocodone, ketamine. We did 6 wire intercepts and 9 search warrants, 8 of the search warrants in Barto back in November of last year. And guess what? $50,000 in drip. But I want you to imagine this for a minute. People continue to tell you that drugs are low level and nonviolent. They're anything but low level and nonviolent. Where you see $50,000 in drip, where you see, oh, that not so dangerous drug of cannabis, you see guns, and you see first-degree murder from overdose. So I am over it. I am over it when people tell you that drugs are low-level and nonviolent. And the men and women that you see here today representing the hardworking detectives, and I can tell you my narcotics teams are the very best. They have to stand in the face of firearms like this when they serve search warrants. We have to spend the money on T3s, as we call them, wire intercepts, in order to effectively bring down organizational groups. And the reality is, Nathaniel, or Nate, is at the top. But let me introduce you to some of his workers. Troy Walker is the person that sold the drugs to our 65-year-old victim. She bought these drugs on a Saturday night. She took some of these drugs, and on Sunday morning, she was walking out of her house to church when she collapsed. So she died so Nate could have this drip. Did you hear what I said? He's buying this drip from selling drugs to people on the streets, one of which died. And this is the first time in the history of the sheriff's office that we've actually monitored conversations about their scurrying around after she died from Troy selling this drug. So where did Troy get it from? Another member, Brian Myrick. Brian is 42. He sold the crack cocaine to Troy. Troy sold the crack cocaine to our victim. Listen, he was released from prison for serving 4 years on a 3-year minimum mandatory where we arrested him before. He was still on probation from that time when we arrested him again. This is really kind of the pivot guy in Barto. He is the main street pusher, the main connection, and those that are selling and using on the streets. 32 people are listed here, but we're focusing on this. He's already been to prison on 2 occasions, and now he sold the drugs to Troy, who had been to jail or prison on 2 occasions, and killed a 65-year-old lady. If these guys aren't in jail, if they're not in prison, they're selling drugs on the streets in Barto. They just are. And everybody in Barto knows it, but they're afraid of them. Then you have Herbert Merrick's. He sold Brian Myrick pills. Myrick would sell Merrick's cocaine. Myrick told Merrick that he fronts the pills to the girl so he can kind of get them coming back. And then he does other business with them. He's currently out on bond. Oh, just a thought. He's been in prison too previously. And then there's Isaiah Donald. He's Nate's brother. We arrested him in February of 2024 for trafficking in cocaine, and he was out on bond. And guess what happened in October of 2024? He comes back up on our T3, still dealing dope, while he's on bond for trafficking from 6 months earlier, waiting on charges. You see, folks, these people will never quit selling dope if they're not locked up. And people die. And we have the empirical evidence that they die from it. Then there's Elijah Nahad. He's 23. He was the marijuana dealer. He's the connection from Orlando selling the marijuana. We caught him selling 11 pounds to Brian Myrick. And guess what? He came up on our T3 with a lot of details. Then there's Maco Caballero Medina. He's 24. He's from Venezuela. Now, this is part of the frustrating confluence of federal immigration issues and local law enforcement issues. He's in this country illegally. And guess what? He was trafficking in MDMA. We caught him with a pound of it. We're waiting on the lab to return the results, but we caught him with a pound of what we believe to be ketamine. We had a trafficking warrant out for his arrest. We arrested him as part of the T3. He made bond. We had an immigration hold on him. So when he made bond, the feds came and picked him up, because that's what they do when they're finished doing business with us. They picked him up and deported him. He still hasn't answered for the trafficking in our jurisdiction, but he's now in Venezuela. So what we've done is we've issued a capias for his arrest. If he ever comes back into the United States, we will, at that point in time, take him into custody, and then we'll be able to no bond him and hold him until he answers for his part of this organized narcotics ring. I want to turn the podium over now to Chief Walker. It's an honor to work with him and the Barto police officers on investigations. But you must understand that it takes all of us that I spoke of to successfully do these complicated investigations. And our organized crime team and our different narcotics units make all this work because we all come together and coordinate our efforts. And our goal this time is that these folks don't go to prison for 4 years or 5 years, because it's only drugs. It's only drip. I mean, when people are walking around with $50,000 worth of jewelry around their neck, and they've sold millions of dollars worth of drugs in and around Barto, they're a menace to society. They've got to stay in prison or people die. Chief.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Barto Police Department responded to an unresponsive subject, the victim in this case. It appeared to be a nexus between her death and drugs. Barto is not a large agency, and we rely on partnerships, and we in Polk County have great partnerships with our law enforcement partners, especially the Sheriff's Office. We don't have the ability really to have undercover officers. Most of my officers are from Barto, so they're known. So it's a little difficult to do that, and so we ask for assistance. In this case, we've got great assistance from the Sheriff's Office. That partnership is key. To do wiretaps is very manpower intensive and very expensive. And so having that assistance from the Sheriff's Office and our federal partners really helps us out. And so I just want to thank them for this and, helping us clean up our city. We know we have problems, and we're doing what we can, and obviously sometimes they're outside of our scope to take care of. So we rely on that assistance.
Thank you, Chief. We have Brandon Shealy now from FDLE. Brandon.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning. On behalf of Commissioner Mark Glass and the men and women of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, it's an honor to stand up here with leadership and Sheriff Grady Judd doing such a great job here. Today's a testament about how important it is to stand shoulder to shoulder to constantly combat this drug trafficking epidemic that's riddling our communities. And we're going to hold people accountable for the lives that are being destroyed as a result of this. Our teams continually share intelligence all across the feds, state, and local, and we continually identify the threats in our communities and work together to stop those threats. The agents and detectives that Sheriff Judd was talking about, they are always working to stay one step ahead of the evolving techniques and tactics these traffickers are using. I'm going to tell you, you're not going to outsmart or outwork this investigative team we've put together. Through our partnerships you see here today, drug traffickers don't have a safe haven. They don't know jurisdictional boundaries, but you can see we have these boundaries covered. So we're going to hold people accountable. I want to thank the investigative team, and probably more important, or as important, I want to thank the selfless partnership that allows these successful investigations to come to positive conclusions as they do. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, sir. One last visual. Whoever tells you that narcotics is low level and nonviolent, they're crazy. God bless you all. Work with us, and the community work with us. You give us confidential information, we'll do everything to include wiretap these guys. We're going to protect and keep the community safe. See y'all later. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
You talked about how these people need to stay in prison or else they'll be out dealing drugs.
Yes.
Aside from maybe Troy Walker, do you think any of these people will stay in prison longer than 5 years, or are they going to be back on the street?
Well, I can tell you that Brian Haas, who's our state attorney, Nicole Orr, are going to push for the maximum sentences for all of these folks, because this is not a one-off. This is not their first time. They've all been to prison, and every time they're out, they're selling drugs. Even when we've got heavy-duty charges on them and they bond out, they still go back and sell drugs. They don't even stop for the period of time that the hammer is over their head on very serious charges. They ignore the criminal justice system. They ignore society. They don't care if your children die, as long as they can wear their drip and sell drugs and use guns to intimidate the community. And these are not first-timers. They're not second-timers. This is a very experienced group of people who have owned the drug market in Barto for a very long time, and we have put them all in prison. And when they get out, they're back to their same old stuff.
Can you speak to the wiretap side of this, how long that was going on, and what you heard specifically about Troy Walker and the overdose death?
Yeah, the wiretap went on about 2 months, but federal and state law prohibits us from quoting directly from the wiretap. But that's where we got the information. And they were scurrying around and talking about when our victim died, about, well, I sold her drugs yesterday. I mean, words to that effect. And she's dead this morning.
Sheriff, I was curious about the ketamine. I feel like we don't really hear about that a lot. Is that like the latest thing that...
This group of folks that owned the drug market now in Barto, now that's not to tell you that no one else deals drugs, but they own the drug market. Nate is the man in Barto. He is I don't know, he's an Amazon for drugs. Whatever drug you need, he's there, and he'll make deliveries. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day. See you all later.